Hi gardeners, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I am covering 5 tips you should know if you want to grow your own food. So let's jump right into this video. So coming at number 1 is making sure you choose the plants fit for your zone or your growing area. So you don't want to go through the struggles of trying to maintain and grow a plant that cannot grow in your area. That's just going to waste time, money, efforts, and the plant's not going to do well overall. So do a quick search and see what type of fruit trees, what type of edible plants you can incorporate in your landscape that fit best to your climate. For example, here in my zone 10B climate, we grow a whole bunch of tropical plants. One of them being our patomba plant or our patomba fruit tree. They have been producing these fruits nonstop all season. This tree is lit up with all these hundreds of small orange fruits that are sweet but sour at the same time. So this has been the best performing tree I've seen thus far this season. So I can't wait to see the other trees blooming and flourishing. But this is one out of the 2 trees we have, and both trees are doing great. So make sure you select trees that are fit for your area so you have less work and you have more harvests. Coming at number 2 is one of the most important points, which is the sunlight requirements. So this is something that I always stress with gardeners when they're very ready to begin their very own garden, is that they need to know their area. They need to know if it's partial sun, partial shade, full sun. They need to know what area they're working with and how's the sunlight looking like in order to work with the plants in that area. Because you can't plant a full sun loving plant in a full shaded area, because one, the plant won't grow nor set fruit, and it will just struggle because it's not receiving the amount of sunlight it requires to grow properly. So make sure you go out there and check your area. Sometimes it's very clear when your area is full sun or full shade. Usually if it's an area underneath a tree or a very large canopy, it is most likely full shade or partial shade. If you're in a very plain, if your area is a plain field and there's really nothing much there, then it's most likely full sun and you have a whole bunch of sun to work with. For example, this mulberry tree behind me that is setting a whole bunch of fruit right now. Look at that. So this tree is located in an area that receives, I would probably say full sun. It receives about 5 to 7 plus hours of direct sunlight throughout the day, and it's happy. It's been producing nonstop. It's an all year round producer, and these berries are huge. You can even see it's starting to stain. Mulberries are natural fruits that are used for natural dyes, tarts, you name it. These are very, very healthy and very medicinal as well. However, if this tree was planted in an area where it receives no sunlight at all, I can almost guarantee you this tree would be suffering. It wouldn't be to the altitude it is right now, and it wouldn't even be fruiting. If it would, it would be fruiting these small little, very weak fruits that might not even taste that good. So make sure you plant your plants and work with the area, making sure that everything is fit to their proper sunlight requirements, so all your trees are happy, they're all in one accord, and you would be expecting great abundance from your trees because once again they're receiving their proper sunlight. If you have any questions, any plants that you may want, look at their sunlight requirements. Usually they have a plant tag that will tell you sunlight requirements or sunlight. That would tell you either full sun, partial shade, full shade. It will tell you. So work with what the plant tag tells you as you want your plants to live happy. Coming in number 3 is watering. So all the trees and plants have different types of water requirements. Some require way more, some require way less. For example, tropical trees and tropical plants usually require more than desert type plants. So you want to make sure you research how much water you should give your plants. For example, this amazing mango tree right behind me is fruiting. Any well-established tree, usually here in South Florida, does not require any supplemental watering because our climate gives them the water they need. However, if you live in an area that doesn't provide so much rainfall like here in South Florida, I would recommend watering depending on your tree. So fruit trees, usually when they're newly planted, require to be watered almost every day. So then that root ball is well hydrated and saturated, so then it can start rooting out and establishing in the area. However, if it's smaller annual perennial type plants, when they're recently planted, you could set back the watering to about 2 to 3 times per week, making sure that they're well hydrated, because fruit trees are bigger trees. They require way more water than small perennials and annuals because those have very small tender roots, while trees need to develop main tap roots and huge roots for them to establish in the ground. make sure you analyze your climate. See how's the rainfall, what's the rainfall looking like every week, and then go off of there. Lots of gardeners, including myself, have sprinkler systems set out in the garden or in the landscape. So whenever the garden needs a little drink of water, we turn on the sprinklers and they go ahead and water the plants nicely. However, you could also do a drip irrigation, which is more recommended for landscaping, as lots of trees don't like when they're watered by overhead because that could introduce certain pests and diseases. So if you planned out the drip irrigation, that's usually for vegetable gardening and stuff like that, as the drip irrigation wouldn't be messed with so often. But the bad thing about drip irrigation is that it would need to be replaced ever so often because of the type of tubes that are used could break. You could break them on accident when planting them. They could become very weak if they're exposed to lots of sun. So I stick to the basics, which is basic sprinklers, especially in food forestry or in permaculture. They just require some watering, and lots of the trees are very versatile, so they don't mind if they get overhead watering, and it does the job very well, and it doesn't require a whole bunch of maintenance, nor the tubes need to be replaced ever so often. So once again, check your plants, check your area, see how much water they should be receiving. Usually when they're newly planted, the entire garden requires to be watered so much so they can establish. But then after that, it can kind of be laid back more of the watering depending on your area. Coming at number 4 is feeding, or the supplemental nutrients you provide. When it comes to beginning a garden, lots of the plants always benefit from supplemental nutrients, especially if you're trying to grow your own food, whether it be basic vegetables or whether it even be fruit trees. They all benefit from supplemental nutrients, whether that be earthworm castings, compost, earthworm casting tea, a natural fertilizer you may on hand. I always would recommend sticking to natural or organic fertilizers, because since you're growing your own vegetables, they need as much nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, all those basic minerals and vitamins to grow and produce the best fruit and the best vegetables for you to enjoy. If you don't give them supplemental nutrients, they might just do the bare minimum with what they have, especially if you're planting them in containers or in raised beds. They are relying on what nutrients you're providing for them, unless like if you plant them in the ground, they'll rely more on what the ground has in store for them. But still, supplemental nutrients is something I always recommend, as it always benefits the garden. Always stick to organic stuff. That's what fits best for growing your own food. So when I feed my garden, I always feed them earthworm castings. That is literally black gold for all plants, as that's packed with nitrogen as well as that potassium and phosphorus. So like I was saying, excuse the chickens, they're going kind of crazy right now. Make sure you give them organic stuff. Organic fertilizers always do best when it comes to fruits and you're growing your own food in general, as they are packed with all those necessary vitamins and minerals plants need to succeed. Coming in number 5 is plant plants you know you'll enjoy. For example, in my occasion, I will be growing mangoes, avocados, mulberries, sapodilla like the one behind me, because those are fruits I know when they will produce fruit, I will eat them and I will enjoy them. Same goes with basic vegetable gardening. I'll grow cabbage, carrots, I'll grow tomatoes, because I know that's something when we harvest them, they won't stay so long in the fridge or stored away, because we will eat them right away. Of course, I'm not saying you can't experiment. You could occasionally experiment with a small group of experimental type plants or vegetables you would like to try out and see if you like. However, you don't want to dedicate all your space to experimental plants or fruit trees you've never tried, because there is a slight possibility that you might not like anything you grow, and you just wasted a whole season or growing season on trying to grow those experimental type plants, and then you had just wasted your whole growing season. Or in fruit trees, if you plant them and you don't like them and you planted a whole bunch of experimental plants, you've wasted that space. And like fruit trees are very permanent here in Florida, it'll be harder to remove them, and it's just a waste of money and time. So if you want to experiment with certain fruit trees, you can. I would only recommend going in with 1 or 2 at a time. So then if you don't like one, then you could try considering removing it and putting something else in its place. But don't throw a whole bunch of money on experimental type fruit trees and plants that you don't know you'll enjoy, because then you don't want to waste the whole growing season as well as your space, time, efforts, and money, and plants you might not like. So stick to what you know and stick to what you'll know you'll like when you harvest them. So those are the 5 main points I gave. Make sure you follow them, because then you will have success in growing your own food every single time you plant your plants. So make sure you go ahead and follow them. Leave a like under this video if you like this. Make sure you leave a like under this video and subscribe to support the channel. And make sure you comment down below what vegetables and fruit trees you like growing in your very own garden. Thank you all so much for watching. May God bless you and your entire family. And never forget to grow big, ultimate gardeners. Bye, everyone.